Good afternoon, and want to welcome you to our regular scheduled public meeting of the Shreveport-Caddo Parish Metropolitan Planning Commission. I'd like to begin our program with an invocation and pledge of allegiance. I'm going to ask if you would, if I could ask Mr. Andrews to share in our invocation, and ask Mrs. Nancy Cooper to lead us in the pledge of allegiance. I'm sorry.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for this opportunity once again to be servants for this, your community, your city, your parish, your state. We pray that you continue to bless us, bless our family members both near and far. Give us the wisdom and courage and knowledge and understanding to do your deliberations today, for these are citizens who come before us. We pray this in the Son's name. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Again, welcome to our regular scheduled meeting for the month of July. For public hearing agenda items, if you wish to make public comments on an application, we have Mpc comment slips at the speaker stand next to the podium for further notification purposes. It is very important that you fill out a slip and drop it in the box when you come forward to speak. Please, when you come forward to speak, state your full name, your mailing address, and zip code before addressing the board. We will call each case on the agenda in order and hear first from the applicant and then those speaking in favor. 10 minutes are allotted for the principal spokesperson and 3 minutes for each additional speaker. We will then hear from those wishing to speak against the application. Again, 10 minutes are allotted for the principal spokesperson and 3 minutes for each additional speaker. One representative of the application can then speak in rebuttal if so desired. After hearing comments on each case, the board will then immediately deliberate and vote on that case before moving on to the next case on our agenda. Please note that when the board is deliberating, members of the public are not permitted to comment. Any member of the public may request a copy of the board's decision on a particular case by contacting our office at 318-673-6480 after 1:00 p.m. tomorrow, or by accessing our website at shreveportcaddompc.com. For consent agenda items and other agenda items not requiring a public hearing, public comments can be made upon request by filling out an Mpc comment slip. If comments are requested for a specific agenda item, the chair will offer an opportunity for those comments prior to the commission taking action on the agenda item. All of the Mpc board decisions are subject to appeal either to the city council or to the parish commission, depending on the location of the property in question. Please note that it is your responsibility to contact the appropriate governing body about their procedures as related to the matter for which you are concerned. Copies of this document and the phone numbers to contact the governing bodies are available on the table next to the podium and in the entryway to this room. As a courtesy, ladies and gentlemen, please remember to turn off all cell phones while the Mpc board is in session. The commission values your testimony and appreciates your compliance with these guidelines. To that end, thank you again for coming. Let me, before we move to our agenda, just take a moment of personal privilege, if you will, Commission, to wish a happy birthday to Commissioner Ryan Remedies, as today is his birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy 39th.
39.
I know
Yeah. So next on our agenda is our approval of minutes of our June 7, 2017 meeting. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
So,
I have a motion by Mrs. Smith, a second by Mr. Remedies to approve the minutes from our June 7, 2017 meeting. All in favor vote yes, all opposed no. All right, passes unanimously. The next item on our agenda, actually our agenda now moves to our consent agenda. We have case number P-15-17 is a use approval. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Young, a second by Mrs. Smith to approve. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor vote yes, all opposed no. have it. It passes. That is the end of our consent agenda. We now move to our public hearing. Our first public hearing is on case number SP-89-17. Is there someone here to speak on behalf of this application? Thank you. If you will, state your name and address for the record.
My name is John Bowman, 3833 Southern Avenue, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71106.
Thank you.
I'm here to answer any questions y'all might have in the re-subdivision. This is really not a manufactured home type subdivision like they're saying in the report, but we increased the size of the lots in this re-subdivision. And I think it's already been rezoned for just about to put anything here.
Questions?
Yes, sir, Mr. Andrews.
Can you, when you made that comment about it not being a manufactured home, can you tell us what the owner has in mind?
They're building across the roads on Unit 3, directly across the road, $200,000 houses. They're acreage type lots, and that's what we've done is increase the size of the lots from the old Unit 2. In this re-subdivision, we increased it, double the size of the lots.
So do I hear you saying they're talking about building homes as opposed to
Right.
putting manufactured
Right.
homes in? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry, Mr. Young, I apologize. I got to look at this queue.
is it okay to leave it RMS? Because that's residential.
Yes, he can, the RMHS still allows him to build single-family homes.
Okay.
So why is it saying mobile home?
Because that's what it's zoned as.
It's already zoned for that.
He's
It's
just
been
saying that
previously zoned like that.
He's just basically saying that instead of putting in mobile homes, he's instead build single-family homes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of this application? Seeing no one, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this application? All right.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Young and a second by Ms. Smith. All in favor, vote aye. All opposed, nay. All right, thank you, it passes. Our next case is case number P-12-17. It's a zoning request. Is someone here to speak on behalf of this applicant?
Good afternoon. Andy Craig with Moore & Associates, 1324 North Hearn, Suite 301, Shreveport 71107. We might be on the way to breaking a record here, huh? You may recognize this particular zoning case. It was brought before you a little over a year ago, and the MPC did approve the rezoning, and it proceeded to the parish commission, and where it was turned down. So at the time, there were some issues about the lift station that was in the mobile home park that our developer owns, and that lift station was owned by Sewer District Number 7. That lift station has been fixed and has been verified, and there were some other traffic and drainage issues which have been addressed. But I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any on this 12 lot on 2 acres.
Any questions for Mr. Craig? Thank you. Anyone else here to speak in favor of this application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to this application?
My name is William Hall, 5617 Brandon Road, 71107. I was here last year on this. And they have fixed the sewage, that's the only thing they fixed. On the water, still got a water problem. I've got the end of the road is a cul-de-sac. And the parish put a 19-inch culvert into my ditch in front of my house from the trailer park, and all the water from the trailer park comes into my lot. It runs down my driveway. I get 6-8 inches of water down my driveway. And now he wants to put 12 more houses in there. Whenever this commission, back years ago, approved that, it wasn't a commission, it was a police jury approved it. Joe Lawler was president, and they said there would never be over 55 trailer houses on the lot. And now he's wanting to put 12 more. He got 63 on it now. And he's wanting to put 12 more right in the circle. I'm on the left side of that circle. And lot 17, 18. On that, let's see, is that the Brandon Road circle you got there? Is that the Brandon? I'm on the left side of it, right here, here, and let's see, I've got 2.5 acres on it, right here, right there, one there and there. Yeah, I've got 509 feet south of the circle, or the road. And I'm getting all the drainage from the trailer park through my ditch in front of my house on the Brandon Road. Now, Leon Bozeman used to work for the parish. He got killed in the fire truck back 35 years ago. Or not the fire truck, but the spray truck. And before he got killed, he had to move his fence south 15 feet. And that closed off his right-of-way to his mother's house because they used the Singleton Road to come down. And the people on the north side of the road let him use that. Whenever he had to move his fence, then I let him come in on my side. And when he come in on my side, well then the parish come in there and put a 19-inch culvert into my ditch in front of my house, and I had an 8-inch culvert under my driveway. And now he's wanting to flood me out. I've got some pictures. Let's see, what'd you do there, Delaney? Huh? Oh, has he? Okay. Well, anyhow, that water overflows the ditch. Now, the ditch is 3 foot deep by 4 foot wide. And the water that comes out of the trailer park overflows the ditch. And the water comes across my front line all the way past my house around when it rains real hard, and go around to the right side of my house, past my porch. And now, if he got the problem cured, he might have cured his sewer problem, but he hadn't cured his water problem. And I'm not going to let him wash me away if I have to put a 4-foot wall up there. I might have to do that. Now, whenever I close that cupboard off, if somebody don't do something about it, well, then Mr. Johnson's going to sue me that owns Ashley's Salt Shop, because I'm going to put all the water in his driveway, and then I'm going to turn around and sue the trailer park, sue the parish, if Johnson sues me over it, because they close the natural flow of water and run it into my ditch, and you're not supposed to close the natural drain. And we was here last year on that, and he says he got it fixed, but he hadn't done nothing to the water. He done something to the sewer, because I got all of his sewer for 10 years. And he done a real nice job this year of cleaning up his trailer park before he come down here this time. But it's the first time been cleaned up in 10 years. I want to commend him on that. So, anyhow, I talked to Joe Lawler on that thing, and that's what they set 55 trailers in for the maximum on that acreage. And that's been 30-something years, I guess it's been in there now, around 30. But, and then we come before the commission, let's see, last year, I believe, and it was 10-2 against him having any trailers put in there, added to it, and they turned it down. And I don't see where anything's changed other than he took the sewage out of my front ditch. And that's all he's changed. And now if that proves that he's made a big effort, well, he might have made an effort, but he didn't spend no money. The parish spent the money to fix the sewage. So I'm kind of hostile about it, and I don't mind telling y'all. I've been here before. I was in court for 2 years over a right-of-way on it. Tommy Bozeman sold a right-of-way to that property, 40 acres. He landlocked it. and we was in court 2 years over that. And I had Robert, who was one of my lawyers, on that. But we was in court for 2 years for right of passage over that end of that road for 3 houses. Tommy Bozeman sold 2 lots, 99 foot by about 300 feet long, and didn't give a right-of-way to them. And I told him, I says, Tommy, he told me he was going to build a road down there. After man built his house down there, no road built. I said, Tommy, you got to do something on the road. Oh, well, I ain't going to do nothing. I said, yeah, you're going to do something, because I'm going to put a gate out there and put a lock on it, and that's what I done. And then I locked all of them out, and they had to go get a lawyer and file charges on me to get a right of passage over it. And finally, after a year and a half, the judge gave them a right of passage. So, and they've got 40 acres down there that's landlocked, and this fella right here, he owns, I guess, 10 acres down there that's landlocked. Because Tommy, which was the grandson of the old man that owned that property, whenever they died and all, and Leon died, well, then they split the property up, and all of them got, I think, 5 acres apiece, and some of them got 10 acres. And now they got 40 acres that's landlocked, and you don't have no right-of-way to it. Now, at the end of my property, 509 feet down there, I've got 30 feet of road right-of-way to the Roy Road off of my property. I bought the Kent property. That back below at 509 feet, I believe. And I've got 25 feet road right-of-way and 5 feet services. So anytime I get ready, I can take a bulldozer and go to the Roy Road if I get ready. But we've been at this thing, and we got to do something about it. And I'm not going to sit down and let the water drown me. And on the house, I've got a house on there. I think maybe y'all got a picture of it. The water's come down. I got 105 siding on it. It's eat the wood up on the bottom. I was going to replace it this year, but I said, no, we're going to have to go back probably. So I didn't replace it so I could take some pictures of it and bring it down here and show you what the water's doing to me. Now that slab is about 6 inches above the ground. Don't no water get in my house, but it gets up, and I got to replace all the boards around the front of it. And I don't see where that we can take and, you know, do no whole lot about putting more trailers in there. Because anytime you put one trailer in there and you cover up 10 square feet or 20 square feet, that's 10 or 20 square feet that don't take up water. And when they approved that thing, it was a sagebrush field. And you didn't have no water out of it. Sagebrush take it all up. So now, something got to be done about the water. I don't know whether the parish is going to do anything or what. But he needs to talk to somebody who's got some right-of-way down through there and maybe buy him a drain down through there somewhere. Because he ain't going to drain it in my ditch. So, I might have to get a lawyer, you see, to take care of it. But I'll do it. I'll write him a check today if he's ready. I believe, but anyhow, it's been a long-standing deal. The trailer park has had loud music, shooting guns in it, and everything else. Now, he might not, know about it, but I hear it all the time. We got dogs next door to the trailer park. Every time you walk outside, the dogs bark. I believe his lawyer would tell you that. He might change clothes after he left out there that day when that dog running behind him barked. But anyhow, his lawyer like jumped out. His lawyer like jumped out of his clothes.
All right. So, Mr. Hall, is that your time is up? Did that cover everything you wanted to cover?
Well, the water is what I'm interested in. I don't want to get washed away.
Sure.
And I'm gonna stop the water from coming if I have to take rent a front end loader and a hoe from David Johnson that owns Ashley's Saw Shop. And he lives next door to me, but when I put the water on him, he's gonna sue me. Mm-hmm. But I'll still run a front end loader for him.
I have 2 questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Smith and then Ms. Damon too.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question. You
Okay.
said 63 trailer houses out there already?
Do what?
63 trailer houses out there already?
Yes, ma'am. They're supposed to be, I think, 63 now at the present
right.
time. I can't tell you, but he can tell you how many
All
there.
right, but they promised you they were not going to put any more?
No, this was when they had 55. Whenever Joe Lawler was parish president of the police jury, they approved 55 trailers and it would never be enlarged. And that was it. That's what it was supposed to be, 55. And now he's got 63 in there. Whenever Katrina come along, he moved 4, 5, 6 trailers, and I don't know how many he put in there, but he put them in there somewhere along Katrina. I don't know whether they got a permit to move them in or what, or whether they bootlaid them in or how they got them in there. But it's supposed to have been 55 trailers.
Has he met with you all?
Huh?
Has he met with you all and letting you know what he wants to do?
No, he's wanting to put the stuff in there. Ain't no need talking to him about it. He got to do something about the water.
Okay, but Mr. Sweeney, can you answer him when he's talking about this flood? Is that his job or the engineering job?
That would be something that would be addressed through the engineer. I'm sure Mr. Craig can probably answer some questions about that.
Okay.
In your report, it makes reference to the fact that they would be putting in a detention facility to handle the water, and that would come under the platting process. That would be the next stage.
Yeah, I read this.
Well, I called the parish for the parish engineer, and I never did get a hold of him. I want him to come out and look at it, you see what the problem was, because there's nobody come out. You just throw a water line, throw a ditch in there, and throw a culvert in it, and then where's the water going? Let's see, Larry, no, let's see, Ms. Hall, I see she made it, okay. Anyhow, she gets some of the water from the trailer park. It's got a ditch goes down behind her house, and she gets it, and the culvert in Brandon Road, I think, is about 12-inch culvert, and it won't take care of the water. Okay, the road floods, and you got 12 to 24 inches of water in the Brandon Road coming from the trailer park, and it never done that until they put the trailer park in. If my time's up, well, I'll give it up. I've said what I wanted to say about the water.
I just,
Ma'am.
Ms. Dan Marteau also has a question.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily a question for you, but I think we need to make sure he understands that, like Ms. Bessie said, that the engineers have a obligation and a responsibility to make sure the water runoff is appropriate and doesn't flood out.
I didn't have no problem at all with the water runoff, because from where that circle is, or that circle is up there, on the west side of it, 30 feet over, was where the drain come through. It was 30 feet from the fence. The original water was 30 feet. Come across the road, or come across the fence, and then it come down the driveway, and then it cut over into my fence, about 4 feet from my fence, and it had a ditch there about 3 foot deep. And that took care of all the water at that time. But we got a lot more water coming down there now. You could put a 36-inch culvert in there, and it wouldn't take care of it.
Thank you, sir.
I have one question before you go.
Okay.
Mr. Hall, you were referencing some time ago when there was the police jury, and you said that you were advised that there would be no more than 55.
55 trailers, what it was supposed to have been.
What was that number? Were you ever explained or advised as to what that number was going to be based on? Was that some sort of
That was
study?
Joe Lawler. Joe Lawler was the president of both police jury, and all of them agreed that they would let 55 trailers be put in there, and that would be the maximum that would ever be in that trailer park.
What I'm saying, was that based on any sort of engineering study or?
Well,
some
I
basis
guess
to
they
it?
did. They generally have engineering study and all that. You take an engineer and he can tell you anything in the world, you see. But if he says one thing, he can tell you, it don't always work out. But that's the thing about it. You see, I'm sure they done a study on it before they built a trailer park. And that's what the board come up with back then, was 55 trailers, maximum trailers, to be in that trailer park.
Okay.
And now he's got 63 in it, and he wanted to put 12 more shotgun houses in it.
Mr. Jean and Mr. Sweeney, do y'all have any knowledge about this 55 limit?
No, sir. I would imagine, considering it's been a long time since there was a police jury in Caddo Parish, that it was probably just something that was stated as a matter of record at that meeting, but not something you could hold as a policy for implementing into the future. And so therefore, really, we don't have any documentation that shows that. So.
Any idea what it would be based on?
No, probably just probably they counted the number of trailers and said that's as many as we'll let you have out there and made that statement. But then, again, can you enforce that? No, not really. There's no rule in the books that limited or set a limit to the number of, it would be based on the number of lots they had and potential lots, and that's what would determine the number of trailers.
Thank you. Thank you. Any, see any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here to speak in opposition to this application?
Hello. My name is Charlotte Uri, and I live at 7832 Singleton Road, 71107, Shreveport. My property is the little boot shape up there in the right-hand corner. Okay. I'm not sure if this really is relevant, but when I bought my home 18 years ago, I was assured by the owner of the mobile home park and Laverne McDaniel, who was in real estate at the time, it was her property that I bought it from, assured me, because I had a major concern about the mobile home park across the street. They said, well, here's the deal. There's not going to be any renters. They're all homeowners. The few trailers that we have that do have renters in them, when their contracts were up, I was assured that they would be sold for homeowners, so they would actually be homeowners. And they would just be renting the lots, and therefore, you know, people tend to have a nicer environment when they're buying it. Okay, that kind of fell through, and that was okay, and I do agree, absolutely. I was told the same thing about the limited number of mobile homes in that park. I'm a homeowner across the street, and it greatly affects my property value. The water flow is a great issue. I'm at the top of the hill, and it's running down all into Mr. Hall's property. My front yard, I'm sorry, I wasn't really prepared enough to bring photographs, but I would have. When we get a good rain, a real nice good rain, it's like Lake Pontchartrain out there. I mean, you could get a P-row to cross my front yard. So the drainage issue, period, in itself is a big issue. Last year, when I was approached by Mr. Mavis, is what I know him, the landowner who owns the mobile home park, that they wanted, the first access was to come through Singleton Road. And that road cannot barely hold the people that we have there. Now they're approaching from Brandon. All of that was voted down. Y'all know that 10-2. The improvements of the water have not been really addressed at all. I believe that, excuse me, some of the members of this board may have been misled earlier. I'm not sure. I just, you know, you pick up on things. But that has not been addressed whatsoever. The 12 homes on 2 acres, if y'all would think for a moment the size of an acre of land, and you're going to put 6 family dwellings on 1 acre of land, please don't do that to us. We already have problems in our neighborhood, and like I said, the well is a problem. I just hope that it doesn't pass, especially since we haven't had the concerns addressed that we had last year at the same time. It was voted down 10-2. It was appealed. We'll keep coming back until we either get it resolved, I guess, or get some improvements. It's up to you guys. But we say no, and we have a petition. Do we not have a petition of the other landowners? And y'all have that in your possession that everyone has said, please no. Anyway, that's all I really have to say. If you have any questions, I'm through.
All right, any questions? Thank you.
Oh, I just wanted to add one more thing. I was told in the beginning last year that property that they had planned on building on the 2 acres was not going to be rental properties at all. I was almost pressured into following along with it because that was one of the promises was made that would not be rentals, and that is rentals.
Unfortunately,
Question,
ma'am.
Yes, sir.
The two of you keep referring to the number 10-2, and
The number of, what, I'm sorry,
Number
sir?
of people voting 10 to 2.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the parish commission.
I'm going to assume that you're talking about the Kettle Parish Commission.
I believe
As
so. I believe
opposed
that
to
was
the
in the board
MPC.
commission, parish commission voting down to 10 to 2. Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right, just thank you. That was just.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, is there anyone else here to speak in opposition to the application?
Hello, I'm Larry Fed. I live right 4309 Singleton Road. I know I've met Mr. Man at the trailer park owner long, pretty good while. And we're good friends. I don't care, you know, if he's Democrat and I'm Republican. You know, we got different views. I just didn't want and I talked to him last year about his house. He brought me pictures of him. And I said, I can't approve it. He says, why? I said, well, I've been in construction work now 43 years. And I'm gonna retire here. I got one more little job to do. I'm gonna retire. But I built a house, started out in '73 over in a Bel Air subdivision, and I went through Don Coleman for 15 years building the 235 programs. If you know what it is, it's a little 1,000 square foot house, and you get one car. You've got 5 feet from the property line, and you can jump almost if the roof was like 4 and 12, which was real low. You can run and jump from one house to the other. And I only have 1 acre because I let my daughter. She couldn't leave her mama, so I put her over there behind me there. But if it cuts the houses down and make it a little bit bigger, I don't want the 1,000 square foot house, really. I know they will go anywhere from 150,000. You know, a new house, because I build new houses. Just got through with a $3 million house out here on Cross Lake. And, but I still don't want, I'm 70 years old. If I got 10 more years to live, okay, if my wife lets me. But I want my grandkids. They probably going to get my property. They're going to inherit it, and my mother-in-law's next to me. They're going to inherit it. But I don't want 12 more families down, cars going them down. We get some speeders out there in that trailer park you wouldn't believe. And I talk to the owner about it every once in a while when I see him. I said, you know, you got somebody over here. He lives in Bossier City, and I understand. He got a nice home, nice place. And I build them all the time. And I would like for y'all to consider the future of my grandkids. That we don't want too many people out there, because somebody's going to get hurt, because it's 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, and back end of a car out to the road now is probably about 6 feet, if that. We've been lucky in the last years that none of the kids ever got hit, and I just don't want to see this come about. That it's going to create a dangerous situation if we get more traffic on my end of the road. Now, Mr. Hall, I've been knowing him for 40-something years since I've been there, and I even went down Hampton to work on his house, and that water come through there you wouldn't believe. And the natural drain, which he said did go behind the cul-de-sac, which he is at, because they had 8 feet of property that was from the back of the pavement to the property line was 8 feet in there. And when they broke that my wife's grandparents' place up and divided it up, well, the guy that sold the land, his part, sold the right of way, but he didn't consider about the road was not going to go down to that property. He was going to go ahead and take the end of his cul-de-sac regardless. There was 8 feet in there that belonged to Mr. Hall and the other property owner, and they was going to take it because the guy sold his right-of-way off, and that wasn't the right thing to do. They took his land. Okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else to speak in opposition?
I'm Bonnie Jean Hall. I've lived on Brandon Road since November of 1965. I think everything, all these other gentlemen and this lady has covered the water situation pretty well. I'd like to talk about the fact that they want to open up the road to join Singleton Road. And we liked our dead-end street. We have all these years, and we do not. We oppose that 100%. All of the neighbors do. It would be more traffic on a rather narrow road. And most of us are senior citizens now. I don't have small children any longer, but my children grew up there. And that's my main objective, is the idea of them opening up the road to join Singleton Road on the other end. We don't need that extra traffic. We don't want the extra traffic. We're very happy like it is, and appreciate y'all's concern and take it into consideration. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Okay. Anyone, any questions, no questions? Anyone else to speak in opposition? If not, the applicant or the representative applicant, would you like to speak in rebuttal?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Mr. Sweeney correctly pointed out, remember this is a rezoning case. We have not developed a subdivision plat. In fact, we haven't even done any surveying in there yet until we get through this rezoning process. So we don't have answers to the drainage, the specific drainage issues. But as you know, by the parish code, we do have to design to that parish code, and we have to have stormwater detention, and we have to be cognizant of the neighbors. And any issues that's within our ability to fix or address, we will. Sounds like most of the issues are parish issues on Brandon, which we won't be able to address. But right now I don't have an answer to those because we haven't gotten there yet. And I would like to also point out that there is no traffic going to be dumped onto Brandon. We're coming in on Singleton. As you can see, all 12 lots will be going out this way to Singleton. Here's Brandon, and they correctly stated there's 8 feet between the public right-of-way of Brandon and our property, so there's no way we can get through there. In fact, we explored that. We're hoping that we could, but we found that 8 feet of privately owned property, and we knew we could not go through there, so all the traffic is going to turn and go north to Singleton Road, and we will connect up there. And also, as to the mobile home park, when Mr. Walters bought it, he inherited a few rental units. There may be 2 or 3, maybe just 1, I don't know, but majority of them are owner-owned, occupied mobile homes. There's only just the ones that he inherited, just a handful of them are rental units. So there's the vast majority of them are owned units. He owns a lot, rents the lot to the people that own the trailers. And also, I will point out that this is a 2-acre separate tract from the mobile home park. So whatever deals were made with the mobile home park that we don't even know about would not extend to this 2 acres. And these will be stick-built houses. There will be no increase in number of trailers, mobile homes. They're all stick-built homes. And there will be a private street coming in serving each one of them. And so we know there are some issues to address. We will get to those when we get the surveying done and the plat and engineering. And we certainly will have to have the y'all's approval as well as the parish engineer's approval on any plans that we do for drainage, streets, and the DHH approval on the utilities. I'll be glad to answer any other questions if y'all have any that were brought up.
How are you gonna fit 12 on that 2-acre?
Yes, it fits the R1H zoning.
Pardon me?
It fits the R1H zoning, the spacing requirements.
Okay.
We had initially submitted for 15, and we worked out that we couldn't really get but 12 in there reasonably, And you'll see lot 1 in the southeast corner is a little bit larger than the rest of them. That's because we know that's where we're going to have to put our stormwater detention in there and try to prevent any problems on the Brandon Road there. So
What's the square? You said they're stick-built homes. That means foundation
that means
homes? You said stick-built?
stick-built. That means they will be built 2x4 wood construction, just a regular, normal residential subdivision home, and they will be
Approximately
probably
what?
starter home type, but they'll be brand new and high quality.
Approximately what square footage?
1,500, 1,500.
Mr. Young,
I'll defer to Ms. Bessie, then I'll go.
Ms. Smith?
Yes. I want to know, have you met with the homeowners, all what you're telling us, have you met with them?
Yes, ma'am. We met extensively the first time last year when we came before y'all. We had met with them extensively on site, and we even have a community meeting. This time there were some individual meetings, but we didn't call a group meeting this time because it had all been hashed over previously. And the biggest issue then was the sewer lift station, of course the drainage too, but the biggest issue was the sewer lift station, which we couldn't do anything about, but District 7 did fix that. But we did meet with them. We have met with them.
How long ago that's been? You say you did meet with them. Are you talking about last year or this year?
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you.
How long ago? That's been this year, sometime soon, maybe about 3 weeks ago, a month ago? That's what
I'm not sure exactly when it was. It was several weeks ago that I met with some of the adjacent owners on site, the developer and his attorney and Mr. Hall. And I don't know if there's anybody else there or not, but I know
Was
Mr.
the
Hall met with
engineering
them
people
on
there?
site. And last year, when we were before you, I believe we were at the June meeting from last year, so the meetings would have probably been in May of last year that we met with the majority of the people out there.
All right. Mr. Young?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before us today is a simple rezoning case. The actual water retention issues, that the flooding and everything else, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Craig, but if this property is approved and developed out, whatever water lands on that property now has to come out at no faster than it currently comes off there now. In some cases, they actually make you reduce the outflow off that property. Is that correct?
That's correct. That is the current drainage code.
Is
for
the drainage
development.
code. So if this is approved and developed, actually less water can come off that property per, I don't know how you factor that, hour, day, I don't know what it is.
Right.
But it has to be metered to a lower rate than it is currently at.
That's correct. And that's required up to a 25-year storm. It's theoretically a storm that occurs once in every 25 years.
Every 25 years.
Of course, there can be bigger storms that are out of control that we can't do anything about, but anything within that window we have to control, which would just be a normal thunderstorm. A hurricane type deal, it's out the window. But with what we are required to do, we will control that.
Okay, and the 25-year, is that a parish guideline or is that a state guideline?
That is parish.
Parish, okay. I knew you would know as an engineer, so.
And if we can, generally what we do, if we know there's an issue, we will try to do more if we can. Sometimes you can't, there's just physical restraints, and like I said, we haven't surveyed it yet, so I don't know that. But if we know there's an issue there, we'll do everything that we can to improve it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Craig. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Cooper?
For Mark or Stephen, looking at the little zoning map here, just of the area, would an R1H and surrounded by RA, would that not be spot zoning?
Well, you've got to consider the fact that would normally be the case, because since this has lower density than the mobile home park to the north of it, it actually is an improvement and not a going other, because if you, in the report, it basically says under normal circumstances, we might consider this as spot zoning, but because of the way it's going to develop out at a lower density than what's adjacent to it, it actually blends with it quite well.
So then why does it need to be rezoned?
Because he can't get the density he needs under RA zoning.
It doesn't meet
The lot,
the
mobile
lot
home lot
density-
would not need that?
Right, he'd have to go a much larger lot size, and he wouldn't be able to get the number of units he needs in order to make this profitable. Because when you're developing or subdividing land for single-family development, it's the number of lots you can generate, so the number of houses. That's what generates the profit margin on a project like that.
So this mobile home park is not subdivided, it's just one big,
Not that I'm aware of. It's just out there in RA zoning.
is it being used appropriately?
Well, it's been used in that fashion for many, many, many years. And so therefore, undoubtedly was allowed back and approved back in earlier years. And it's possible, and Steve and I were having this conversation, that a lot of that mobile home area may have been developed before, actually outside of the planning limits of the MPC, because that's going back far back when we had a police jury, and some of those are older names as you're hearing about that were on that jury. So there's a good chance that may have been developed outside of our planning limits, and therefore was just simply absorbed into it once those planning limits were extended out.
Okay, and so a site plan in the future would include this stormwater detention on the eastern side? Or?
No, not a site plan. This would be a preliminary and final plat. And as Mr. Craig has said, the parish subdivision code requires that they have to directly address the issue of drainage, which involves detention. And it's what he made reference to that lot being used for detention. In other words, it would never be approved. They would never get any building permits through if they did not address that issue up front as part of the platting process. You haven't seen the plat yet, but the plat would come back to you, and no doubt that would be something we would address.
Okay, and so if Mr. Hall had any questions about that, he could visit with y'all or visit with, y'all could give him feedback about that?
Right, and as he has said earlier, probably the most important people he can talk to is the parish Public Works Department, who can give them direct feedback about what they anticipate will be required for that property as it's being developed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Young?
Mr. Chairman, can I point out one thing for Ms.
Yes,
Cooper?
Mr. Craig?
If you notice right here, there's an R1B track, so it's higher that's even higher density than our R1H, so it's not completely unprecedented in that area, so.
Okay. Thanks.
Mr. Sweeney,
Yes.
is it fair to say that even if this was not going to the I guess I could put my eyes on R1H, which is a higher density, regardless of that, the stormwater retention and the amount of outflow would still, so the higher density is not going to affect the stormwater detention and outflow. It's still going to be mitigated at no higher rate than it currently is, and probably a reduced rate from what it currently is sitting as basically rural agricultural land.
Yes, the issue has to be addressed regardless of what zoning he has, whether it's 1 unit versus 12.
Correct. So my point was, is that if we downzoned it and was only, say, 7 units on it, it doesn't matter. It's still going to be mitigated out. So the number of units is not really a factor in it, because you're going to have to retain the water no matter what.
Yes, of course, with more units and more lots, you have more impervious surface being created.
Which you have to factor in for your retention.
You do, absolutely.
And that's
correct.
kind of where I was going. You're going to have to, with a higher number, you've got to factor a higher retention rate,
That
because
is
you have
correct.
more impervious surface. But if you go to a lower number, you just don't have to have as much,
That's right.
because you're not covering as much of it. So the number of units really doesn't play into effect, because the ordinance, the parish ordinance, is going to mandate
That's correct.
that they have to do this water retention issue. I'll take care of it.
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure I have my head
Sure,
wrapped around that.
sure,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, that's it. All right, anything else? If not, thank you, Mr. Craig.
Yes. Yes, and amount
Commission, we've heard from both sides of this. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, based upon the recommendation of the staff, I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Okay.
I have a motion by Mr. Young, a second by Mr. Remedies to approve, the staff's recommendation. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor vote yes, opposed no. All right, passes. Our final agenda item is case number C-68-17 and P-16-17, proposed amendments to the adopted City of Shreveport UDC and the proposed Caddo Parish UDC. Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, and I guess at this time, I can do a PowerPoint presentation if you want me to go to that level, or I can briefly read what we have set here and then identify the two areas that may be of interest of maybe correcting or changing. And I can take the second one.
The latter.
Okay.
The latter.
So I'm going to simply say, and if you'll follow with me, the purpose of these 27 amendments to both the recently adopted City of Shreveport Unified Development Code and the proposed Caddo Parish UDC are corrective changes due to oversight, grammatical mistakes, and contradictions or missing items. These inaccuracies are typically discovered after the new code has been tested by the public and the MPC staff, thus resulting in the need for miscellaneous updates on a periodic basis. We gave you an attachment of those 27 amendments, which I refer to as housekeeping or corrective amendments. They also were posted on the MPC website 3 weeks ago for the public to review if they had comments, and also we're holding this public hearing today for that purpose, for any type of feedback from the public pertaining to the UDC. Those amendments are varied. They have to do with definition and rules of measurement, zoning district regulations, use requirements and use standards, on-site development standards, off-street parking and loading, landscape and tree preservation, zoning application approval processes, and nonconformities. In our lunch meeting earlier today, which also was open to the public, we had 2 spots where we wanted to make some adjustments, and I can certainly highlight those for you to go through that process. One of which is we wanted a little bit clearer definition of certificate of occupancy, so that it is understood that the zoning administrator is the one who is the one that's issuing that. We can go ahead and wordsmith that correctly so that that is clearer, and if need be, to cross-reference to the other section that actually clarifies it better. The other one that was considered for a change was requiring and I'm going to turn over to, if I can find it here.
It's number 23, Mr.
It
Sweeney.
was number 23, thank you, sir. That has to do with requiring a architect, landscape architect, or civil engineer licensed in the state of Louisiana to actually do the site plans for all the submittal site plans for our process is required. We're going to probably suggest at this stage is perhaps just to take this one off for the time being and not include it in the group of amendments. Perhaps to allow us to study it further and maybe come back later with an amendment, unless you have other suggestions about maybe a different way to word this. Those were the 2 areas that were highlighted in our conversation. There may be more, but that was the 2 where we saw a need for adjustments. So.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Young?
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion that we authorize Mr. Sweeney to critique the language in reference to certificate of occupancies to alleviate some concerns we had at a pre-meeting with Mr. Alan Clark, making sure everybody could understand by reading the document where they had to actually go in the process these, and then eliminating from this proposal item number 23 for future discussion that we can put in the next set of amendments we make to this document. So.
All right.
And I do make that in the form of motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Young, a second by Mr. Remedies. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, vote yes.
Hey, 1 second. We
sorry.
do need to open this up for public comment,
Oh, okay.
because this is a public hearing. So,
Do we have any requests to speak in support of this amendment, these amendments, or anyone who would like to speak in opposition?
Come on up.
Come on down.
No, you don't have to address all of them.
The 2 you just were kind of addressing. The
Any of
certificate
them.
Any of them. Okay.
Any of them. Any of them.
Anything is on the whole thing is on the agenda.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure if y'all were just talking about.
Name and address for the record, please.
My name's Heidi Brown, 1243 Pine Island Road, 71107. I'm here to address the number 17. Well, it's kind of vague to begin with. The third part, number 3, is what I'm really questioning. A transient vacation rental must be licensed by the Director of Finance. So I'm an Airbnb person. I'm guessing that's what's being brought here is Airbnb's probably been under scrutiny in every town, and I'm guessing y'all want to regulate it more, and so that's why this is, I mean, that's the point here, right? Y'all are starting it with this, and then I'm guessing it's just going to go from here. So a license for a rental as opposed to, for a nightly rental compared to a monthly rental, I don't really see why there needs to be a license. I'm guessing neighbors call in and are making complaints and they want y'all to do something about it. But neighbors call, obviously, front row here, about everything, you know? One of the ones that my friend has, he couldn't get a job here in Shreveport, so he's out of town, and he has a Airbnb, and I help him out when I can and watch over it for him, but he wouldn't be able to afford his house still. That he works out of town, he would lose it. It would be on the market with 12 other houses that are on his street for sale right now. But since he's had Airbnb, we've put tons of money into his house. He's saved his house. I mean, we've painted it. We've got a new AC. We've got, the whole inside looks better. The neighbors are actually happy for this rental. I don't know about the rest of them, but he had two neighbors that were both unhappy with it before. He had a bum friend living there who wasn't taking care of the yard. The house was going to crap. He wasn't getting any rent from it. Now he has somebody coming every month to keep the yard up. The house looks amazing from the outside. The one neighbor who, the tree that was overhanging on his property has been trimmed because we took care of that. We had money.
Mr. Chairman, your speaker button in request to speak isn't working.
Oh,
I have a
sorry.
quick question I need to ask her.
The other
Before she goes
neighbor-
down this trail real quick.
Okay.
You're gonna run out of time if you go down all these makeups you're working on the house.
No, but I just wanted to give you an
I'm
example.
trying to help you.
Okay, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
think you need to go down the bullet points that you think's wrong with this document. and
Okay.
then we can ask you questions about why you think it's wrong. But number one is, you don't think number 3 needs to be in there. You want to strike director of finance.
Right, correct.
Okay, so strike that. What else do you think's wrong with number 17?
I'd like to strike the whole thing.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Keep going. You
Go.
got 17 handled. Keep going.
I
Okay.
have a question. If you
Hold on one
want-
second. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Give me some more pointers. What else?
Are you,
They can ask questions, but they're gonna have to extend your time already, because I'm asking questions. But you have 10 minutes to put.
Well, don't I get to put my argument and then y'all get to come with questions?
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to tell you how I've improved the house and made two neighbors happy, as opposed to, I'm sure, the calls y'all have been getting. The other neighbors in everybody's business, he complains about everything. Now I put him as overseeing the house. If he has any complaints, if somebody's doing something wrong, he calls me. And I mean, it's within 5 minutes. And I take care of the problem within 5 minutes. So for people who are calling and complaining about their neighbors, maybe they need to make better relationships with their neighbors, but the government's not always the answer. Making more government and overseeing, you guys overseeing me taking care of people staying with me is ridiculous. You know, I have enough by keeping up with the reviews I get. I mean, if a door doesn't shut right, if a toilet doesn't flush right, if a drain is clogged, I get reviewed on that. So these places are in tip-top shape as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I've never had cleaner houses before in my life. I mean, so where am I going with this? I also am not sure if number 16 applies as well, the certificate of occupancy every 2 years for home-based business. I don't know if y'all are trying to tie that in as well, if y'all are trying to tie Airbnb as a home-based business. Okay,
No,
I wasn't sure.
That's not related.
So I want the whole thing cut. I don't, I know y'all want to make regulations with it, but I don't want to avoid it or maybe put it to another one, because I see there's no other Airbnb people here, you know, and I feel like if I had a few more people here, I just found out about this meeting 2 days ago, and if I could bring more people in who can tell you all the positive things of Airbnb, because there are a lot of positive things. I mean, I get people from across the whole world staying in Shreveport, Louisiana. Why? I have no idea.
Wait, before
Okay.
you go down that road.
Hold on. Look, I want to make sure you use it. She needs to
Okay,
use
okay.
her time.
I also want you to know that, yeah, people come to this town because of Airbnb a lot of times. I had people stay because they were on a honeymoon. Who would come to Shreveport for a honeymoon? They wanted to stay in a really cool house, you know, on the lake with a beautiful bayou view. I mean, I get people who would probably skip over Shreveport because if Airbnb wasn't on their thing, they wouldn't stay in Shreveport because they want a local experience. They don't want to stay in a Hilton. They don't want to stay in a casino. They want to have a Louisiana experience. So they stay in one of these little houses or with a family. I don't know. I don't know where else to go. I just want you, I know y'all hear a lot of negative stuff, and I just want y'all to hear some of the positive things. We can start questions.
Yay!
So,
Who, am I next or not? Go ahead.
no, it's you.
Okay. I don't know why you think we have a negative connotation of Airbnbs. I think they're wonderful, and I think it's a great thing. I think the director of finance or whoever is in there, do you guys pay sales tax?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Airbnb already sets it up. I don't even have to do anything. Like, because of, I think, what John Bell Edwards did in New Orleans, he set it up for the whole state. Airbnb takes care of it. It takes their percentage, and you guys get it. So y'all are making money.
Isn't that what it was originally
Well,
put
but
in?
you gotta understand, not everybody.
VRBO does not, because it's a vacation
Yeah,
rental, so
yeah.
I will
That's the
have to
difference.
figure out my
Right.
VRBO, because I do both.
Your difference is not everyone's Airbnb, that's one company.
Right,
Okay.
VRBO doesn't, because
So-
it's vacation.
Okay, so the ordinance was put in to make sure that the city,
Everyone is.
it gets their, or the state gets their
That's
sales
correct.
tax.
That is correct.
So I just wanted you to make sure you understood that, and that's why the ordinance is in there. That's why it's,
Okay.
way it's written, to make sure that other people
So,
do
well,
pay their
we're gonna
sales
be
tax.
having to get a license. What does that entail then?
It would
Mr.
simply-
Chair,
Yes,
Was
Mr.
me?
Young.
It would just simply be a document that through the finance department would, in the city, would stamp it saying basically you have a license. He has you on a list, so he knows that you're an active business.
So I'm gonna come in and pay a registration fee or something, or?
That has not been, that's not determined.
Yeah, I just felt like this was the beginning of more and more and more and more.
As with anything, it's a two-way street.
Right.
You guys sound like you have a pristine, great operation that does great.
I know not all of them
But
like
if
that.
everybody was like you, then we wouldn't have to have rules like this. And that's the problem, is that we've had, just in not too long distant past, people complaining about these. Yes, and so we have we've had to kind of hit the middle ground. And these regulations are what we borrowed from cities that are actively have a lot of Airbnbs. And so there's a lot of cities that are a lot more top-heavy, and we kind of took a middle of the road.
But isn't it
approach.
people's responsibilities to pay their taxes?
But the problem is there's no way to make certain that they do that. The
Yeah, but that's in anything, I mean.
The competition with the hotel and motel industry puts them at a disadvantage to these type of rentals, because if they're not paying their fair share of the motel hotel tax, then there's an imbalance there. That's part of the reason why most communities are asking for some part of registration of the type of uses, so they can monitor that.
Okay, so this is just gonna be, everybody comes in and registers, and we're not tacking on more and more and
No.
more. Okay, sorry I went
Pretty
so
simple.
far. I just was worried. I'd heard some negative things, and I had
I love your passion.
I was worried that it was going well, and when you say license, it's like a fee, and then there's someone associated going off and checking that you have all the appropriate things, or parking and all. I just didn't know where it was going, and I was worried
That's not.
that I'd heard negative things up.
Again, we took a very moderate approach. We weren't trying to take a top-heavy approach, and that was the whole intention, because that strikes the balance between those that are truly doing good and those that don't do so good.
Okay.
Or that are not good neighbors.
Well, right, and I know Bossier has turned it down completely, so I was just hoping that's not where this was going to go.
No, I'm like Leo. We see the value in it.
Yeah. I mean, nobody wants to
Ms.
visit.
Brown, there are a lot of industries that are unfairly regulated. The early childhood child care industry is one of them. there is about a 4-to-1 ratio, maybe a 5-to-1 ratio of unlicensed facilities in the state of Louisiana versus licensed. And it's a real big rub issue because you have some that are having to hold to an extreme high set of standards nowadays, while others get a free pass. This is also true with the limousine services versus now Uber and the other one? Lyft. Which limousine and those type of services have to have background check drivers and everything else, and the other one doesn't. And it creates this real rub between parity and trying to be fair to some degree. And I think for the safety of your industry as a whole, while it sounds painful to say I have to have a license, it makes you more legitimate. So when you can actually state we are licensed by the city of Shreveport or by then you can actually, they know you are met a certain level of standard. So somebody else that maybe still trying to hide under the radar can't advertise that.
Right.
And if this passes, that is ammunition for you to come down and see.
Okay, I see the positive. I see the positive,
Then you can come down and say, these people are advertising and they're not on your list. And then Mr. Clark over there, I'm assuming he would be Mr. Clark is the enforcement guy. So he's our bouncer.
So does that mean if I am licensed and along with the other people that are licensed, if y'all want to start adding more rules or adding things, will we at least be notified? The people that are registered be notified that things would be changing? Like, that's the one request I have.
Typically, rules don't just change unbeknownst to anybody.
Well, this one's about to pop up, and like,
What we do is we post 30 days ahead of time, and there are public meetings about the UDC and its development. So obviously, people are busy doing different things, but our responsibility is to be sure that it's publicly noticed, and we've done that. Obviously, people don't sit around sometimes looking for those kind of things.
Right.
But it's not because, we do everything we're supposed to do with that. So I understand from a business perspective, everybody like to be able to do what they would like to do and earn as much as they possibly could.
Right.
And I get that, and I'm certainly not mad at you about that part. But we don't. It's hard to regulate and advocate out of the same mouth from this perspective. And so that's why this is what it is. And I heard when you began, you said, I'm thinking y'all, I'm guessing y'all, I guess y'all. But we're really just trying to put something together. This is not even really passed yet. We're just trying to still vet this. So I do appreciate you. Your comments.
Well, and if there's any way that the people that are registered could get notification if you are wanting to. I feel like that's one thing that kind of goes with it. Like, if the people that are registered, if you're wanting to make changes, at least that they're notified beforehand that there's going to be something.
Yeah, I was just going to, add that the only way you could do that is to spend extra time and effort to pay attention. I think most of us up here are in various types of businesses, and unfortunately, there are things that slip up sometimes on all of us that it's not. But I've decided a long time ago in my business, in the transportation business, that we would just get our permits and everything, because it's easier to just go to bed at night and not know that you're going to get that nasty letter in the mail every day.
Right.
So while I understand your passion and you don't want to be regulated out of business, it's almost inevitable. And I agree with you 100% that government is certainly not the solution to most of our problems, but there are there for a reason to protect the consumers and obviously get the fees and the taxes to support the
So is there any chance people will be denied for this license?
Well, depending on what the standards would be. Okay.
So those
No, it's not just a permit.
What's that?
It's not a
or
permit.
license, sorry. Is there any chance people won't get licensed?
No. It's more or less an attempt to just register the existence of the business and make sure they pay their taxes.
Well, I
just want to get your taxes.
But I still
I know
think
that's
that this body
common.
is talking out of turn, because we won't be able to dictate what goes on that application. That will come from the city, and if it's under the city, the director of finance, that's going to be up to the city administration and probably the city council. So I'm not telling you what you want to hear. I just want to be honest with you that
we don't get the money. That's what he's trying to say. If there's any money involved, we don't get it.
This is just and we don't pass, this is not our legislation. We're not legislators. We don't pass it into law. That's the city council and the parish commission that are gonna do that. So if, when it goes past this point, if you still
I
have
need to follow it,
objections,
you're saying?
yes, then take it to whoever your parish commissioner is or your city councilman and tell him how it adversely affects your business, and that's how you can get it done, because he represents you in that district, okay? So, and many times we have some really good city councilmen that could be your advocate on that. And then you could ask him, as long as he's elected, please let me know if you plan to change anything. And that's kind of
Okay.
the way that
Yeah,
it all
okay.
works. And unfortunately, they're not going to send you a letter to your house. I know that's
I know.
what you want to do. And I want them to do that for me too, but there's so much going on, they're not doing it. So
Right.
I hope you understand where I'm coming from.
Right, okay.
It would take more government to
Well,
do
I
it.
did get lots of answers.
That is true.
But if they tell you that there's not going to be more
I have to
regulations,
double my
please
spend.
don't believe that to be the truth.
No, I mean, I figure it's gonna get, I guess I'm just gonna have to follow everything that goes from here. All right.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yeah, oh,
Question.
Mr. Andrews? Okay. Got a call for the, was there anyone else who was, speaking in opposition or support? All right, if none, got a call for the question.
You got a motion and a second.
Do I have a motion and a second?
Yes, yes, you
I'm
did.
sorry, that's why he made us do this, right? So, I've got a motion from Mr. Young, a second from Mr. Remedies. Is that correct?
Yes.
Correct.
All right. All in favor, vote yes. All opposed, no.
Now you
One issue. So, just FYI, commission members, I know sometimes we get in this conversation, we were voting on the entire package.
Yes.
Minus those couple of things that we need to still make some language changes. So, thank you. At other business, master plan invitation report, Mr. Sweeney.
Yes, sir. Several things to mention here under all three of those bullets. The parish UDC amendments will be taken up tomorrow, July the 6th. And we have had a meeting with the Rural Caucus last week, as I mentioned in our previous meeting, and have made a lot of progress. And we anticipate they'll take their vote to send their proposed amendments back to the MPC board. When you get that back, I'm going to try to distribute that information to you within the next few days after tomorrow's meeting. And then that way, if it's okay with this body, I'll go ahead and schedule that for a vote from this body on the 2nd of August, which will be your next meeting of this board. And so we're optimistic, and it will be, as we said earlier, a separate UDC for the city, as well as a separate UDC for the parish. They'll be 99.9% the same, but with some variations that are key variations between the two. So I will try to get that information to you in the next few days, and you can anticipate seeing that on your agenda August the 2nd. The next thing I want to bring your attention to, it is my favorite time of the year, budget time. And so, as you well know, the budget committee is comprised of the executive committee, that being the chair, the vice chair, the secretary, and the former chair from the last time. And I'm looking for a date, and the date I'm looking at for a committee meeting is July the 26th, which is a Wednesday, at 10 a.m. And we would be there probably from 10 until possibly 2, depending on how quickly we move. We'll provide lunch.
Yeah, just as a point of personal note, that's not a good day for me.
Okay.
Another day of the same week would be fine.
Okay,
Just
so
that
the
day.
26th is not good for you.
Right.
How is it for, let's say the 27th? How is that for the 4 members? Is that a better day?
That's good for you, Nancy?
I'm
The
good.
morning is gonna be a problem, but I can do it after like noon.
Okay. Well, what we could do, if that's okay with
Noon
y'all,
on the 27th?
we could move it to the 27th, if that's better. And then we can start later, maybe start with lunch and then go into our meeting or something like that. So I'll try to set something up
What
that
time
works
is
today.
that?
So is that good for you, Alan, as well
Yeah,
as Windsor?
Yeah.
Are you
Start
okay
at
with the
noon and go from
27th?
there.
Yeah.
Okay, the
Put it down now.
27th, And I'll give you a time and everything. You'll get an agenda for that. And that will be the group that makes the kind of, goes into great detail over the budget. And then we'll make a recommendation to the full board, which would then follow. Now that segues into something else I wanted to do. Because of the time constraints and everything with the budget, I'm going to suggest to you that if it's possible, and it's going to be based on whether or not we get a quorum or not, I would almost prefer to have a separate meeting strictly just for the budget, for y'all's review and approval on the 9th of August, which would be 1 week later after your regular meeting. So we'd be meeting here on the 2nd, then coming back together on the 9th to talk about the budget and to get your vote. I think that might be necessary in order to have enough time to put some of the pieces together.
Mr. Sweeney, on the 9th, that's at 3?
Yes.
At what time?
It would be at 3 o'clock on the 9th. If that's not workable, then let me know. It's just that it may be very difficult to have the budget stuff together by the 2nd this time.
Okay.
I have to turn it in to the CAO on the 11th of August. So
2 days later.
2 days later. It's always a tight schedule for that. But I'm trying my best to give my consultants enough time to have some results back from their study on that we just paid the money for them to do for our sustainability study. And I'm hoping to have some preliminary conclusions by that point in time so that I can play that into the budget, but I don't know what the timing will be like. So as it stands right now, I will be back in communication with you about the 9th, okay? We definitely know we're gonna meet for the budget committee on the 27th of July. We definitely know that we're gonna meet on the 2nd of August, but I might need you to come back in a week later for a special meeting just on the budget. But I'll communicate with you and poll you individually on that, okay? So we can make that work. Any comments about that? Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the Rules and Procedures Committee will probably, which Nancy, you're the chair, we will have a draft of some proposed bylaws for you to review and to sit down with the committee and to convene to discuss those as possible items we might want to recommend going forward to the full body of this board. And so we would like to be able to do that sometime, if not in the next few weeks, at least sometime in August.
Yeah, I want to get a couple of other bylaws,
We
like
did.
Lafayette, and just straight copies of theirs.
Yes, we have those.
I kind of wanted to look at those ahead of time by just myself.
Okay, what I will do is to get you ready in preparation for that, we will send you the copies that we were able to find. And we will also send you what is a compilation of the different bylaws from different communities that we put together as kind of a model to work off of. We found a model through the APA that was a good working model, and we built around that to give it some meat and some structure that might work for us. Everybody's different, every city is different, every planning organization is different, but I wanted to give you a heads up so we can give that information to you, and then it'll be at your decision as to when you want to have a meeting with the committee. So,
Oh, okay.
so we'll start there first,
Okay.
and then we can talk about meetings at a later date.
Okay.
And I think that is everything that I had to report today that's actually in all those items.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Any, now Chair and board member comments?
Mr. Chair, real quick.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I have two items
yeah.
I'd like to ask Mr. Sweeney about. Actually, this one ties into these two tie together, I think. The transportation plan is currently still in the works.
It is, the consultant was already selected several months ago by the MPO. And that company is already underway in developing the thoroughfare plan.
Thoroughfare plan.
And there'll be
I'm
a
sorry, I keep calling
series,
transportation as thoroughfare.
there'll be a series of public outreach meetings that will be occurring within the next few months.
Okay, and when that is adopted, probably in the next year, fair to say, somewhere around there?
It should be finished by December or January of next year.
Okay, and the current 3132 corridor that has now been determined by NLCOG and the feds, that will automatically be encompassed into
Yes, sir.
that.
Yes.
And then the I-49, the other part was the I-49, any city, inner city or 3132 loop around or no build will also be incorporated in that.
That is true, and I believe if I'm correct, I think it's August the 11th is the next MPO meeting, and it will be at that meeting, or it may be the 18th, I can verify that. That'll be at that meeting where a decision will be made about what route for I-49, and that decision will end up being in the thoroughfare plan.
What date?
The I-49 decision route for the decision.
What date?
Either 11th or 18th.
I think
Okay,
it's the
thank you.
11th or the 18th, and I'll just have to go back and check.
Okay. That's
And
all.
there
I
will
have, Mr.
actually be
Chair.
a vote taken that day on the options to consider.
Thank you.
Mr. Remedies?
Have we addressed the complaints about the office hours at lunch?
Sure. You know, that's an interesting thing
Did you say
to bring
have
up.
we?
Yes, I did.
He asked, have we?
I'm sorry.
He asked, have we?
No, I have, yes, actually, I have been discussing it with a few of folks. I know that I probably will end up having a meeting with Councilman Fleury to talk about that at length, and that'll be scheduled sometime in the near future. That policy has been in effect almost 3 years. We have only received maybe 2 or 3 complaints in that 3 years. And 2 of those 3 was just recently. And so we have a reason for why we do it that way and why that was put into place. And I certainly can explain that in greater detail and in depth with the board members if they wish me to do so. I can send you out an email that will kind of outline the reasons why we have had that policy and why it works so well for us. We are not the only entity that does that, but we're the only entity in this building that does that. So,
Question.
yes.
I had asked you about that upstairs, so
Yes.
I definitely would want you to give me some information.
And we will send it out to you and everybody else that
Thank you.
explains that position.
No, are we?
Was that it?
No, not yet. Is that saying that the staff objects to opening at lunch, or is it?
Well, I think
You
that
say-
you'll see the reasons for why we do it will make a lot of sense to you. As Ms. Bessie has asked for, I think I can give you an outline that will explain why we've done it that way and why it's worked so well for us for the last almost 3 years.
Okay, which still may not be good for the public who's we're here to serve, though. That's the problem.
Again, we've only received 3 complaints.
Yeah, but no, I'm saying that sometimes people won't complain, but it's not in the best interest of the people that we're here to serve, though. So it doesn't matter what's convenient for us. You know, I know my office, we stagger our lunches and we just do what we have to do, so we're there for everybody that wants to.
Well,
come
I'll
in.
give you a report on that so that you can see what how we've been approaching this and why it's been done this way the last several years. And if we need to talk about it some more, we can talk about it some more. All right?
Just a question,
Ms. Cooper?
do you or Stephen or the planners, do y'all take appointments? If people ask, they call and ask for an appointment at a noon hour, do y'all ever do that?
On many occasions, that has occurred.
So y'all are
You
really-
gotta understand, if somebody's in our office, we don't push them out the door and shut the door.
Right, but if
If they're in
someone,
right.
if someone calls and wants an
Right.
appointment at noon, y'all are amenable to that?
Yes.
Yes, okay, that's what I thought, because I think I've had an appointment with you at noon
Yes.
before, okay.
Any other board comment? Remedies? Ronnie?
Yeah. There was a few pieces of property that were just south of the downtown airport. They're located in the city limits that were, I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but I'd like to find out the zoning was completely changed, and what the
Yes.
person says was, I went to bed one night with my property zoned and I woke up with a park. Something that was valuable one day and the next day could only be used for a park. I can't imagine what defense we could use for that, for just changing and completely devaluing someone's property. But, Mr. Chair, I'd like to place it, on the agenda for next meeting, for us to discuss and possibly take action on reverting some of these properties back to an equivalent zoning from what they were in zoned industrial, and now they're being told that their property has completely been taken off the market. It's not marketable anymore because it's only zoned as a green space. And I own property, and I know that people will not come and look at your property. They will not take interest if they know they have to deal with the government because the zoning does not fit the needs of. But with all that aside, the government, it's almost as the audacity of the government to say, you have this property worth maybe hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars, but we think it needs to be a park. So we're gonna zone it, you can only use this as a park. And if you come up with a good enough reason, maybe we'll let you use it. But that's just really, really an overreach, which is why I'd like to place it on the agenda for discussion next month.
So
And,
so this is about the policy,
no, this is
about
about
a specific case?
well, this is about the, I'll send an email, but I'm gonna request a list of properties that have been downzoned, so we don't face this tribunal when we speak to these folks when they go to maybe apply for zoning, or apply for site plans. A lot of people don't realize that their property has been, their use of their property has been taken away from them. And so I'm gonna ask for a list of those, but I think that it's the responsibility of the planning commission to look at all those and decide if that is in fact the best use. Because I certainly didn't know that's what we were doing to some of these landowners when we were voting on that, because I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know better use for someone's property than they do, especially when they purchased it and they spent the money on that property with that in mind, so.
All right. Mr. Sweeney, could you make sure, and I'm assuming you will CC?
Absolutely, the
Sweeney,
entire
So
board,
if you'll
sure.
add that to the agenda for the.
Absolutely.
All right.
No problem.
Ms. Damon.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Ronnie, I'm putting it out there as, with this UDC, we had, just refresh my memory, we had these maps for public display for how long?
For about 2 years.
2 years.
Mhm.
So, I just want to put that out there. I'm not saying I disagree, and we
But what is
shouldn't
the-
look at
What's the point of
it.
that? What's the intent of your
Well,
statement? That they're ignorant? Is that they're stupid?
No.
Because that's what it sounds like.
No, don't put
I
words
don't
in
think
my
we
mouth.
need to be
please.
hostile.
Yeah, I'm not upset.
Parliamentarian.
Let me say this, I think the
Hold on.
intent,
I'm not upset.
I think the intent
Hold on, Mr.
was, I'm sorry,
Hold on,
Mr. Chair.
Are you done?
No, I wasn't, but
Go
that's
ahead.
okay. First of all, I don't want to be hostile. I'm
I
just,
understand.
not at all. And I'm not saying I disagree with you, Ronnie. I said that 3 times. I just said that the UDC was not something that was just done overnight. This has been in public, for public viewing, and everybody who owns property, including you and me, to look at it, study it, had multiple meetings to discuss it, and if there was an issue, I guess it should have been maybe discussed. I'm not saying we shouldn't look at it. I'm just putting a viewpoint out there that I think we should all consider.
Thank
Mr. Young?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The mere fact that we made changes 6 weeks after we adopted this document says that we didn't pass a perfect document. We knew it was not going to be a perfect document. I said the night we voted on it, it's not going to be a perfect document. I don't think there was ever an intention to directly take somebody's property and downgrade it, but there were oversights. And if somebody had an I-1 property and is now a green space, you took a significant investment value out of their pocket. And we have to answer for that. One way or the other, we have to answer and justify why we took a $2 million piece of property and made it worthless. Okay? We don't have the right to do that. And I think in the process of adopting the UDC, it was never the intent for us to do that. We tried, I think the staff tried, to go across the board and change a B1 to a C1. And a residential to, and I think that was the intent all the way across the board. So for us to have to go back and look at properties, I think it's just like going back and look at the ordinances. We're going to have to revisit this sometimes it's going to be on a case-by-case basis where we created the injustice to somebody who owned a piece of property. And we're going to have to fix that inequity. In my